Very good evening to you all. So welcome to the Admin4 Academics training session on business process improvement methodologies and techniques. So we have done a couple of training sessions on lean management and 5S methodologies to improve the productivity and workplace organization and all that. So today we are into an interesting area in the business process management, which is called business process improvement. So before I get into the subject, so today's roadmap is we are going to talk about the business wastes, and we are going to understand what's process mapping, how do we use process mapping to improve our processes, especially processes in our university or in higher education. And then we'll go through value stream mapping and problem solving methodologies. And finally, we will take a look at some mistake proofing methods as well. So before I start, I would like to draw your attention to this particular picture. I have shown this picture during the previous training sessions as well. So for those who did not attend to the previous sessions, this would be a good opportunity for them to look at this picture and think about what do you see from this picture. Do you see a young lady, or do you see an old woman, or both? Just look at this picture and just think about what you see from this picture. So everything will depend on your perception. The way you look at things will make a difference. Some people will see a young lady and some people will see an old woman. Some people will see both. So the way you look at things matters. So when it comes to the process improvements or process improvement methodologies, it's a kind of a different approach than we do in our day-to-day life. So you have to take it as positive. Look at it from a different perspective, different angle, from a positive perspective. Then only you can get the maximum benefit or the outcome from the process improvement methodologies. So first, let's just take a look at the origins of improvement methodologies. Actually, most of the process improvement methodologies that we use today are coming from the Toyota production system. You know that Toyota is the most prestigious the car manufacturing company in the world. They have done a lot of continuous improvement efforts to take their company to this level. And then today, they have become the most prestigious company in the world in manufacturing cars and all the other vehicles. So it's coming from the Toyota production system. So I'm not going to go into detail about the Toyota production system because it's another course, or it's another like 5-6 hours lecture. So I just wanted to get your attention and let you know that all these process improvement methodologies are deriving from the Toyota production system. So there are a lot of tools and techniques in Toyota production system in improving processes. So you may have heard about the words lean management and lean manufacturing and lean Six Sigma, and all these words are related to process improvements. But today, we are not going to go into detail, and we are not going to go into these complex tools and techniques. Instead, we are going to touch some of the simple tools and techniques that we can use to improve our processes, especially higher educational processes. So these methodologies that we are going to discuss today will give you some insights to improve our internal processes in our university. So let's just take a look at those things. Before we go into that, I would like to touch on this aspect, what's called the business wastes. So we actually discussed about 8 types of business waste in detail during the previous sessions. So in this session, in order to discuss the process improvement methodology, and before discussing the process improvement methodologies, I would like to touch these things a little bit, because we need that knowledge in order to get an effective output from this session. So you all know that we have like 8 types of business wastes. For example, if you consider our university, we have a lot of processes. We have student registration processes, student accommodation related processes, and examination related processes, all the other non-academic processes, transactional processes, procurement processes, HR processes, hiring processes, a lot of processes. And we have an office environment in our university. So this is a perfect place for us to learn about business wastes. Now, if I give you some examples, if you go to a typical government office, a divisional secretariat office, or whatever, that kind of a typical government office, you will see a lot of business wastes. One is they will have unnecessary piles of inventories of documents which are not needed for them to use in day-to-day basis, right? And you will have to wait for hours in those offices to get something done. Let's say, for example, if you go to this what's called this identity card office, you will have to wait for hours and hours to get something done. And if you go to a passport office, you will have to remain in the queue for 8-9 hours to get something done. So waiting, it's a waste. It's a big waste. And inventory, it's a big waste. And in our offices, we usually, sometimes we process multiple reports which are not needed. Sometimes we get photocopies of things which are not needed. So, and sometimes we are waiting for someone to approve our documents. These are the practical concerns that we have in any type of a business organization, including our university. So everybody should know about these things and business wastes in order to make improvements to our processes. So that's why I'm discussing these things. And sometimes the approvals. Sometimes you have to get approvals, multiple approvals from multiple people. Sometimes we don't know, do we really need to get these approvals? And do we really need to go through these processes? So it depends. So that's why we have these process improvement methodologies. Because of this kind of a complex business environment, we need some sort of a technique, some sort of a tool to identify these business wastes and streamline those and improve those in order to improve the productivity. So we are talking about 2 main things. One is value added activities, value-added processes, which means we have to think and see whether do we really need this step. Think about a process. Think about a process in your work area. It could be related to examination processes, could be related to student registration, could be a process related to conducting orientation for students, any type of a process. And think how many steps you have in that process. And then look at what are the value-added steps and what are the non-value-added steps. And do we really need these steps in order to achieve our objective? So please pay attention to these two things, value-added steps and non-value-added steps. So you have to differentiate between those two steps, and then you have to eliminate or remove these non-value-added steps from your processes. Then only you can improve your processes. So that's why we are learning about these business wastes, because we need to train our eye and we need to train our mind to see these wastes. Sometimes we are living in this, office environment and, this administrative environment. Sometimes we don't see these things. But when you are aware of these things, then you can go and look and identify these wastes and eliminate these wastes, remove these wastes from your systems, from your processes. Then only you can improve your processes. So with that foundation, I'm going to move on to the first type of technique or tool that we use to improve the processes. I'm pretty sure that you may have heard about this particular tool. It's called process mapping. It's a simple tool that we use. It's a simple technique that we use to visually map out the workflows or processes. Let's say, for example, in our university, we have accounting processes. If you take the processes under the Bursa, you have a lot of processes. You have the salary payment processes and all the other investment processes and, so on and so forth. And when you look at the human resources management related processes under administration, you have recruitment processes and, these hiring processes and all these processes related to HR or human resources. And if you go to procurement or general admin, they have the procurement processes and these engineering maintenance processes, legal processes. There are tons of processes in our university, in higher education in general. So when we look at those processes, it's a complex world. It's a complex world. One person cannot control all these things. So because of that, we need to use some sort of a tool to see how these processes work together and how do we improve these processes. So the process mapping, we use the process mapping to communicate how a process works in a very brief, a concise, a straightforward way. For example, we can think of our student registration processes, student hostel admission processes, and any processes related to obtaining approvals. Sometimes the lecturers have to get approvals from certain levels. Sometimes the lecturers have to send the documents through head, through dean, through admin, through all various ways to the vice chancellors. So think about those processes. It's getting complex. So our task is to put everything, draw everything on a piece of paper and see the opportunities that we can find in order to improve those processes. So here is an example of an administration process related to HR, a recruitment process. So there could be multiple processes related to administration and HR. You know, if you go to academic establishment, they will have a totally different types of processes. And if you go to the other offices, they will have another side of those processes. So we have a collection of processes. This is just an example. And this is how we can improve. We can draw our processes on a piece of paper. And then we can get together as a team and then see whether we really need these steps. Right? Do they add value to our processes? Do we really need to get these approvals? So this is a question that we have. Why? Because we need to improve our processes. So let's say, for example, if you get together and do a brainstorming kind of a session and identify any non-value added processes in this particular recruitment process, that would be a good thing, because you know, that will cut down the processing time a lot, and then that will improve our productivity and efficiency and everything at the end of the day. And here's another example from accounting department, right? They also can use process mapping tool to map their processes and see whether how their workflow, and then identify the opportunities that we can improve these processes. And another one from procurement. Now, usually we, you know, we don't take these kind of transactional processes as important processes in an organization, but you know, from the business perspective, all processes are important because they all are interconnected. As lecturers, the procurement is important for us. Like, for example, if we want to you know, purchase something from the university, let's say furniture, chairs or desks for our students, we have to go through the procurement process, purchasing department. So if the purchasing department is not efficient, right, if they are taking like months and months to get the approval to purchase chairs and desks for our students, then it's not good. So because of that, every process in our university or in a higher educational institution is important, and we can use process mapping to improve anything. And here's an example from a hospital. Actually, this is a patient flow in a hospital. So we have drawn the patient flow, how the patient arrives to the hospital, and how the patient goes to the reception, and then the waiting area, and then waiting for the nurse, and then the nurse does the assessment, and then sometimes the patient will be directed to another area. Sometimes the patient will be directed to an urgent clinic, and so on and so forth. So by drawing the process like this, you can get a clear idea about your processes, and then you can clearly see the things and the points that you can improve your processes. So that's the idea of process mapping. And here's another example. It's an undergraduate process map. Now we are in the higher educational sector, And we have a lot of processes related to examinations, related to all the other activities. So here is an example of an undergraduate process. It's called an undergraduate process map. So this is a simple process that they use, and we can do the same thing in our university. We can draw the process maps in our own departments so that everybody in the department will be able to understand what is going on in this particular department. What are the processes? What are the undergraduate processes in this department? It could be, we could have general processes for the whole university, but there could be some processes unique to some departments. So that's the idea. And here is another example. Undergraduate process map from registrar office. So a process related to registrar office review. This is how a registrar office coordinator reviews a certain a request from a student. So this kind of things we can do in the university, and it's very clear when you do this, then we can avoid any potential mistakes that we can potentially make in the future by doing this. And this will lead to higher productivity, higher efficiency, and higher work morale of the employees. And this one is called a value stream map. Now, so far we were talking about process maps. Now we were talking about very small maps, processes in our departments or administration divisions and all that. But value stream map is a collection of process map. It's the bigger version of the process map. You can map the whole the process of the university. You can map the whole process of the university on one paper. This is an example of mapping students' learning experience. So in this particular university or college, they have tried to identify how the students engage with university activities and their learning experience. Right. So as you can see, this is a very comprehensive analysis of students' learning experience in a university. So this is another tool that we can use to improve processes in our university environment. And value stream map is one of the best tools to use to improve processes among departments. Like when you look at the big picture, so if you want to improve the whole processes of the university, you have to look at from value stream perspective, because you know that administration and academic and non-academic, all these functions are interconnected. We cannot function independently. If we see students as our customers, they go through different levels of functional levels of our university. They go through academic activities, they go through, non-academic processes everywhere. So we are in a very complex world, actually. We are in a very complex business situation. So in order to improve this complex business situation, you cannot just take one piece and improve that part. So you have to look at from the top wave or from the value stream perspective, or from the university's perspective, and then improve the whole system. And then another important aspect, tool that we use is problem solving methodology. So we all know that we all have problems in our life. We all have problems in our lives. And sometimes when we try to solve our problems, we do not solve our problems. What we do is we solve the symptoms. Now, as you can see from this picture, the problem is it's underground. The causes and the root causes are underground. But you see only the symptoms. And as humans, we tend to solve symptoms, not the problem. That is why we have the same problem over and over again. Think about any example from your day-to-day life and from your departments and from your work environments. Sometimes we solve the problem, but it's happening over and over again. If it's happening over and over again, we have not solved the problem. Why? Because we have not solved the problem for the root cause. We have not found the root cause of the problem. Right? So in order to solve a problem, we have some sort of a structured methodology. It's called a 5 why method. Before I go into 5 why method, look at this example. So it shows some problems, symptoms, and root causes. Problems, symptoms, and root causes. So in this particular example, the problem is my car will not start. My car broke. And look at the symptoms. The symptoms are empty fuel tank, symptom. Fully discharged battery. The battery is dead. It's a symptom. Or the spark plugs are not good. It's a symptom. And then when you look at the fuel tank, why didn't we, why it's empty? Because we didn't fill up on time. Why didn't we fill up? Because the fuel gauge is broken. And then in this case, the battery is dead. Why? Because the battery cannot hold the full charge. Why? Because the battery is very old and it's already worn out. It's expired. So on and so forth. So now you can see that this the green color set of wordings are the root causes of the problem. If you want to solve this problem, you cannot fill the fuel tank. You cannot just fill the fuel tank because this problem will occur again, right? Because your fuel gauge is broken. So you have to fix the fuel gauge because you cannot see the level of fuel if you don't fix the fuel gauge. So that's the root cause. And usually what happens in our day-to-day life is we try to solve these symptoms. We try to address these symptoms. Because of that, we will not solve our problem, right? It will happen over and over again. So that's the background of this. And here's the tool that we use. It's called 5 why. If there's a problem, then we ask why 5 times. Sometimes we will have to ask 6 or 7 times. That it depends on the situation, but typically what we do is we ask why 5 times. That's a problem. Let's take a look at some examples. Now, some sort of a similar example here. There's a problem. The problem is the vehicle will not start. Why? I'm asking myself, why? Because the battery is dead. I'm asking again, why? Because the alternator is not functioning. I'm asking again, why? Because the alternator belt has broken. Okay, I'm asking why again. The alternator belt was well beyond its useful service life and not replaced. Now I'm asking why again. And the vehicle was not maintained according to the recommended service schedule. Right. So that's the root cause. Right. So if your battery is dead, if you replace the battery, it will not solve the problem. Right. So as you can understand, if the battery is dead, if you replace the battery, it will not solve the problem because the problem is not the battery. The problem is the alternator. Since the alternator is not functioning, battery is not getting charged, and that's why the vehicle is not starting. So this is the thought process in this problem solving approach. And here's another example. A customer is complaining about a service. I'm asking why, because the customer order took too long. And I'm asking again why, because there was a bottleneck in the kitchen. This is related to a restaurant. Could be Pizza Hut or something. I'm asking why. It says because of the current orders exceed the kitchen's capacity. Then I'm asking why again. Not enough people scheduled for the kitchen at this time, and nobody is trained to help. There are people, but they have not been trained to help each other. And I'm asking why again. And I have found the root cause. There's no standard work or cross training. So that's the problem. That's the root cause. We have people who can work in the kitchen, but they are not cross trained. Because of that, we have this customer complaint, right? So here is another example of 5 why. And then another tool, another technique that we use in process improvements is called mistake proofing. So when we look at our processes and when we set up our processes in our university or in any type of a higher educational institution, we have to make sure that we bring or create some processes which can, prove any mistakes. We don't want any mistakes to happen, especially related to examination processes. When we are releasing our, the marks, the student marks, or preparing our student marks, we are using Excel sheets and all these softwares and all that. So we want to make sure that we don't do any mistakes. So in order to prevent any mistakes, we use a tool called mistake proofing. So the mistake proofing can take different, levels. Now, as you can see from these pictures, I'm pretty sure that you all have seen this in a car. You can see that the fuel cap is attached to the car with a little strap. Why? Because people will forget to put the fuel cap on after getting the fuel. What will happen if you don't put the fuel cap? Then it can catch fire, and it could lead to so many different problems. Right. So because of that, in order to prevent that mistake, what they have done is they have attached that fuel cap to the car, right? And then the other example in this one, usually that we have petrol cars and diesel cars, and when you go to the fuel pump or when you go to the fuel station, sometimes these people will pump diesel into a petrol car. We never know. So most of the countries, including Sri Lanka, they have different colors for different types of fuel. Like usually in United States and other countries, they use green for diesel and black or yellow for petrol. So people know that. So if I know that I'm using a petrol car, if the gas station, the person who is at the gas station or in the fuel station tries to use that green pump, that will alert myself, because I know that my car is a petrol car, but he's going to use a diesel pump to pump fuel. So that's another mistake-proof method. And the other one, you know that many people use medicines and pills, and they make sure that, especially our fathers and mothers, they use this tool to prevent any mistakes. And also the SIM card, you know that it can be inserted into your phone only, on one side. You cannot use both sides. So it's another mistake-proof method. And another example from your office, from the computer or the laptop. So when you try to send an email to someone saying that, please find attached document herewith. But if you forget to attach your document, the Microsoft Office will give you a little box saying that you may have forgotten to attach a file. So that's another example from MS Office about mistake proof. So we can think of various multiple ways of doing mistake proofing or mistake proof methods. So what I wanted to tell you is, when you work around, when you develop your processes, when you work in the university, please pay attention to these kind of things, especially related to examination related matters. Try to implement processes which prevents mistakes. And another tool, not a tool actually, this is a kind of an approach, it's called ergonomics. So the ergonomics means how we sit or how we do our things, right, in the office environment. So ergonomics is a different, actually separate subject. I'm just discussing a very tiny part of that subject. So because this will affect our productivity, our efficiency, and everything. So ergonomics at work is really important as far as our productivity and efficiency is concerned, especially when we purchase a furniture, especially chairs, right? We need to be very careful, because we sit on a chair for a long time. Because of that, we need to pay attention to the ergonomics before we purchase any chairs or any furniture to our offices. We want to make sure that we get the best ergonomically fit furniture to our workplace, because otherwise there will be a lot of issues like neck pains, shoulder pains, wrist pains, and lower back pains because of the furniture. And also because of our posture, there will be consequences. So now you can see that towards your right side we have the correct posture, but towards your left side you have the incorrect posture, which will give you more troubles in terms of physical fitness. Okay, so with that, I would like to bring take you to the real world. I would like to take you to the real world. So now we have actually discussed very simple things related to process improvement today. And most of the world-class companies like Boeing, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and these kind of Apple, they all use process improvement methodologies. All these world-class organizations are using process improvement methodologies. That's why they are world-class, because they improve. They continuously improve their processes every day, every time, every second. They improve that. And I'm going to show you a little video. I think I showed you this video in previous sessions as well, but for those who did not attend the previous sessions, I would like to show you this video. This is from the Boeing, the airplane manufacturing company, the prestigious airplane manufacturing company in the world. You may have heard about Boeing 737, 777, 787 and all that. The manufacturing process of airplanes. Like in earlier days, in old days, they took months to build aircrafts. But now, after using this process improvement approaches, they build an airplane within 9 days, and they build like 42 airplanes a month. You can see how much improvement they have gained using this process improvement methodologies. And this is one of my experiences. So I have been to one of the Boeing manufacturing plants or factory in Washington, United States, and I will show you that after the video. So we'll just look at the video first.
This is the most productive aeroplane factory in the world. Boeing's Renton plant outside Seattle builds the 737 in all its configurations for customers globally. To build 42 planes a month, you need a pretty sophisticated, pretty huge production line. It takes 9 days for a plane to do this loop and be assembled. Let's break that down. Boeing's built more than 9,000 737s since launching the single-aisle jet in the mid-1960s. And each one started life something like this, a hollow fuselage built in Wichita, Kansas, and hauled by train to Renton. Once that shell enters the factory, days 1 through 3 are really all about the internals. It's like building a house. First, engineers install the plumbing and electrics and the insulation. On the 4th day, the tube becomes a plane. The wings go on, along with the vertical fin or tail. Workers align them with laser guidance. This is when they fit the landing gear too. Day 5 is for the horizontal stabilizer install and the start of functional tests. Engineers are putting wiring in now for flight control and finishing the internal floorboards. They start building the interiors up, the galleys and the bathrooms. Then, on day 6, the plane comes alive. That flashing red light means there's power to the airplane. Large-scale tests are now possible. Like, does the landing gear retract properly? It had better. The next time it's folded away will be when this plane takes off for the first time. Day 7, and the plane's weight is set on its own wheels, and the engines are fixed to the wings, along with their own network of wires, cables, and tubes. All through the build, systems are checked and rechecked, and day 8 is a critical test of the flight control surfaces, the flaps, and the flight deck itself, the cockpit. All these parts have been checked in isolation. Now it's crucial they work together. The plane is nearing the end of the moving production line. On day 9, the customer gets to do a walkthrough inspection before it's towed out of the factory. Born, in a way, into the big wide world. The next stop is Renton Field for ground tests of the engines and other systems, and then first flight.
Right, so that's a short video on Boeing operations. So they were able to improve a lot of things in their factories. So I have studied the process improvement methodologies at the Boeing factory in Washington, United States. they have improved almost all of their processes using these techniques that we discussed today, and some additional complex tools. So that's how they have been able to come to this level, and now they have become the most prestigious airplane manufacturing company in the world. So that's my experience, and with that, I would like to conclude the presentation or the session for today. If you have any questions or comments or thoughts, now it's time. If not, we can wind up the session. Okay, so looks like we don't have any questions. So thank you so much for joining the Admin for Academics session today. You have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sisitha.